Greetings. You are now tuned into the Vault. Trust Christian own nothing, control everything. Appreciate you for tuning in live or listening in replay. Today we're gonna have an awesome episode. Today is March 12th, 2019, and really just gonna come at a great episode today. But always want to thank the listeners for tuning in live or listening to replay. And so today's episode is gonna be about 10 reasons why you need to trust. So this has been a long time listen, and I just wanted to tell you all that this has been something that people have wanted to have done for a long time now, which is the 10 reasons why you need to trust. So, gonna definitely talk about tax cuts, talk about people avoiding probate, creditor protection, and many other reasons why you need to trust. So, I'm definitely gonna hop into it. Definitely want to start out as we have been doing recently with the news. I think a lot of good news has come out. I'm going to give the glance overview of a lot of news that I saw this past week that I just think that everyone can tune into, and so we're going to talk about it. If you all don't know, the Vault really is into the crypto investment area right now. A new emerging market, a very hot market, and so really excited. I just want to preface everybody with this because I knew I was going to say this in the beginning, which was uh, this episode is going to be about 30 minutes, 35 minutes for sure, just because this is going to be going over the 10 reasons. And if we don't go any longer than that, I don't plan for the episode to be any longer than that. So, again, we're going to start out with some of the news that, so you can see who's in trust and who's not in trust. And Binance is a cryptocurrency exchange. I think it's in Korea. Or yeah, I think it's in Korea, and I'm pretty sure it is. And so you all can look into it. It's an article, Google Binance Trust Wallet. You all can see that Binance is a crypto company. It's in trust. And it says their trust wallet will support XRP, the largest cryptocurrency by market capitalization. And they're going to allow people to purchase XRP, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Ethereum with a major credit card and debit card. So a lot of people might not know how you can purchase actually these cryptos, but they're actually putting out that you can purchase it on a credit card. Now, I'm not saying and advocating, and we're not saying and advocating that you should do that, but clearly they're allowing you to do it in a foreign market. A lot of these foreigners have pulled out of the American markets, but I'm going to actually go through quite a few states today that literally are down for the crypto blockchain revolution. And so you have Ripple and Tay, and it's what is this called? And of $100 million blockchain fund for game developers. So all have children, they're into developing games. There's a crypto fund being set aside. Ripple is a bank transaction. How do we say this platform that the blockchain that the part of the blockchain that the banks are using. And so now somehow out of nowhere Ripple is granting people the opportunity to what, learn and basically code video games and create this coin that is to do it. So I really want to say, here it is. Ripple X Spring will distribute the grants to the game developers in the form of XRP through the acknowledge, and though they acknowledge that most recipients will likely convert it back into US dollars. And so as you all can see that's very important. They said, look, in terms of distributing the grants, Forte and Ripple say they are targeting game developers with over 50,000 active users. So, see, and this is just a short snippet from this article that I saw this past week. It's a Fortune. It's called Ripple and Forte, Forte, and you all can see the announcement. Them talking about $100 million blockchain fund. I think we're gonna mix up the news pretty much this week, which will be really fun. Rick Scott, who's the that used to be the former governor of the state of Florida, reported his massive wealth using method that lawmakers want to eliminate. And so this is an interesting article because when you see that supposedly somewhere down the line they're trying to pass legislation where uh, they don't want these public officials from placing their assets in blind trust in the future. So you all can see that there's a blind trust, and there was a big issue with that disclosure. If you all don't know, it says that when you go into public office, such as a governor, there's a requirement that other officials face when they file annual financial disclosure forms. So this is actually something that I've seen going through. I guess you would say they're trying to pass a bill, Senate Bill 702. Interesting. Facebook. Oh, wow. One of the most famous companies on the planet. We have Facebook here. Facebook. Facebook's cryptocurrency could be 19 billion revenue opportunity. Barclays says. So it's interesting to see that Facebook's about to launch cryptocurrency, ladies and gentlemen. Payments could help Facebook develop an entirely new revenue stream aside from advertising, something sorely needed at this stage of the company's narrative, says Barclays internet analyst. Barclays says as much as 19 billion in additional revenue could be the upside for Facebook by 2021 in its crypto plans if the crypto plans work out. So as you all can see, 19 billion. It's an interesting article if you all want to look at it. Facebook cryptocurrency could be 19 billion. Interesting. The tipping point. Uh-oh. Here's the tipping point, ladies and gentlemen. Kroger, Starbucks might ignite a retail crypto. Might ignite a retail crypto. Kroger and Starbucks may ignite a retail crypto, ladies and gentlemen. Do you hear the news right now? This is that just went across the board in the past week. I don't think we should talk about this Wells Fargo, but I think this is good for everyone that's in trust. If you all look and you know about the insurance policies and things like that, Wells Fargo gets 240 million payout in latest phony account settlement. So, as you all can hear, when you go look it up, Wells Fargo gets 240 million payout in phony account settlement. So, if you guys read the article, you'll see that they were charged. Let me see here. They had to pay out to quite a few entities, just a couple of entities. They had to pay out 190 million in fines and in restitution in 2016 in the settlement with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and Office of Comptroller of the Currency and the Los Angeles City Attorney Office. The bank also agreed to pay 480 million to a class action lawsuit brought by shareholders. Now, did you hear that? Shareholders. Shareholders, ladies and gentlemen. Shareholders. So, you all can see when you guys read the article, you all will be able to see when you read the article of 190 million in fines. And then, so they had a lawsuit brought by 480. Then they had 142 million to resolve class action filed by consumers. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? They got a 240 million bailout by private insurance companies, just to let you know. So, interesting article to say the least. Oh, here we go. This is a great one, ladies and gentlemen. This is why I've started doing the news because I got a lot of news coming through, a lot of good information. I got a lot of, and so we, just want to keep it very current, very new, very fresh for you. IBM cuts credit unions deal for blockchain service and $1.7 trillion industry. So you all can look that up. That one was pretty good. I like that source where that information came from. The United States, it's just interesting to see. I'm just trying to read this article to you, but I think it's better if you all read that IBM cuts credit union deal for blockchain, and you all get to see the services in $1 trillion industry that it calls out. So interesting article to say the least. Obviously, you can see a lot of companies are going into the blockchain. Pro Bitcoin Colorado governor says crypto signs a crypto friendly bill. Once again, in Colorado, a governor signs a cryptocurrency bill, the Digital Token Act. These are things that they're passing legislation for in front of our eyes and putting together a market right in front of our eyes. So, House passes a bill to require presidents to disclose their tax returns. So we've done and talked about this for quite a bit some time now, where you know if you all see that the president of the United States said, I don't have any returns to show. He said, I don't have any returns to show. So when you see an individual say that, you all have to be aware of the marketplace. So, oh, this is a very, very interesting article. U.S. Marshals are going to dispose of Bitcoin where wells of cryptocurrency, but where wells at the cryptocurrency buy actually is the what does they say? Is they say actually yes, the U.S. Marshals are selling cryptocurrency at an auction. I guess that they seized, and it shows that they seized it here in this article here, and it says that the marshals are going to sell it, but at the same time they don't know who's going to actually buy this cryptocurrency. It's interesting that they're actually selling this cryptocurrency that they seized. Very interesting. Definitely a good article to look into. It says North Korea hacking a crypto exchange to circumvent exchange sanctions. So the UN panel was on it. You all can look that up. That was a great article talking about North Korea. I'm just sharing with you all touch points so you all can see that there's a lot of news going on around you, and this is important to know the right news. And so the right news is knowing that while you all are doing what you're doing, there's a world going on around you that's being built, an infrastructure that's being built, and it's very important to know what that infrastructure is. And so I'm sharing that infrastructure tonight. So tonight we're going to be going over the 10 reasons why you need to trust. So going to be focused on having a great episode, talking about crypto, and we already did that, and just talking to you about the news. But now we're going to move into what are the 10 reasons. So yes, the 10 reasons. A lot of times, a lot of individuals, they don't know what a trust is. So, for a quick second, a trust is a person, it's a contract, and we know that. So, I think it's rather important for individuals to really be able to understand that one aspect of it and move forward. So, I actually had to grab my book here, ladies and gentlemen. I know you might not think that I'm having to sit still in an office, and sometimes we do have to move around. So, excuse me there. I know we're live, and I know as well you're going to have to go through this on the replay, but I know that the individuals that really want the information stay, they listen, and we're focused on families and the right people. And so, yes, we're going to move forward. I had them in my notes here, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm just going to come prepared. So, tax cuts. Let's address that one first. Tax cuts, ladies and gentlemen, there's public and there's private. So, if there's tax cuts, there's public tax cuts and then there's private ones. Have you heard of the private ones? Do you know about the private ones? How come you haven't heard about the private ones? Because you're a public. You're in the public. And when you're in the public, you don't know about private. So, temporary tax cuts, they're on the public side. No one ever said they're on the private side, and the private side is where you will learn how to deal with the tax liability if there is one. So, that's the first thing. The second thing, state matters. Well, estate tax. In each state, they apply their own different estate tax. Some states don't have a state tax, or some of them have lower ones, and some of them have higher ones. You all can look into that. So, why do you need a trust? Or why do you need a trust? You need a trust because if you're in a different state, you can get taxed out of your state at a different rate. So, this is why you see certain people live in certain places. Avoiding probate. This is number three. Avoiding probate. Avoiding probate is a thing that you go into if you have a will in place. But this is where we get in the difference between a will versus the trust. There's a difference, right? A will versus a trust. A will has to have a lawyer or some, some power of attorney or someone that's designated to pass on an estate that's not in trust. Why? Because it's not in trust. It's what? It's in your name. The will is your name. Don't they call it a testamentary will? Sometimes they might even try to create a testamentary trust. Sometimes as you live, you can have a testamentary trust. So interesting to see that, the will route or the trust route, but now what's the superior vehicle, the will or the trust? We already know it's the trust. So why do you need a trust over the will? Because a trust can pass on the estate through successor trusteeship. The estate doesn't always have to pass through uh, conventional methods or having to pass on an estate through it going from you to your children. I'll give you a classic example here is Warren Buffett. What did he say? I'm not gonna give my wealth to my children. I'm gonna do what? I'm gonna give my wealth to charity. We're gonna circle back on that because that's critical. So he didn't give it to him because he avoided probate. He didn't want anything in his name. That's why Bill Gates, that's why Mark Zuckerberg, they don't have shares in the company. They go directly from Microsoft to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. That's why they go directly from the Facebook to directly to the Zuckerberg Foundation. Planning for incapacity, successor trustee. That's it. See how we circle back on why you need a trust. You need someone that can act for you in case you're incapacitated. Well, it's not going to be your what? Your insurance agent. It's not going to be your accountant, unless you have these people as your designated power of attorney. But this is in trust now. Why you need a trust? Because now you have a trustee in place that can take over the estate and keep managing the estate. Just that, and business just continues going on. It's just a change of who's managing the estate, managing the assets. So planning for incapacity, this is something that you incapacity is something that you plan for in trust because you know that that's a possibility. And the assets only get grown through the trustee, or if they have that type of growingness of about them, because some assets can be started and they can continue to grow wealth and for an infinite period of time. So things of that nature. Five, limiting children's access to their inheritance. All right, here we go. I'll just go ahead and flip it on the flip side. Inheritance tax. So, when you give your children wealth, did you know there's a thing called inheritance tax? Some people don't know that because they never were passed along any wealth to know that they were going to get taxed once they got the wealth or the money through an inheritance or the form of an inheritance. And that creates tax liability. This is how wealth is actually taxed out from one generation to the next. It's a classic study when you look into trust law and trust study. You see a lot of cases where uh, you see, the children didn't have trust set up, so or the wealth was passed along from the parents' name to the children's name, and in turn, next thing you know, they just get taxed out of their wealth. It's a very sad situation. 40% type deal. It could be really high at times. Number six, making lifetime gifts to children. So this is where we get into charity and Warren Buffett. Did you know that Warren Buffett's children manage the foundations that his foundation gives to from the Berkshire Hathaway Foundation? Ladies and gentlemen, please catch what I just said about that charity. The way he said he wasn't going to give it to the children, but he gave it to the children that manage private foundations that are right there connected with his. Number seven, protect beneficiaries from themselves. Taxes and liability. How do you protect the beneficiaries? Who are the beneficiaries? They're private. See, we're talking about why you need a trust is because it can help you stay private. People don't need to know who the beneficiaries are. You're a trustee. You're a trustee in training. You're a trustee for life. You don't own anything. You control everything. You control the assets as a trustee. So you do control the liability. Tax or I was talking to a gentleman the other day, even being about sued out of his assets. It was actually sued and he won. But they seized his assets for, he said, 19 months. And he was making millions of dollars. It's like 19 months. That's not 2 years, but that's 19 months. Here we go. Number eight. Divorce happens. Trusts are the best prenuptial for you and your partner. You don't own anything, so what can they take from you? When you become together as a family trust is created. Isn't that right? It's a contract. It's a family trust contract. So you got the family trust contract that governs the family, how that family is going to grow wealth. It has a business plan in it. Why? Because the family trust is a it has to do business, correct? How does the family survive? The family is to have some type of skill or craft that can bring wealth to the family. And so that's done through the family trust. The trust is a person, so it just does the work. And so it's very simple to see that. But it's the best prenuptial. Why? Because it allows, if anybody really does bring some form of substantial wealth or just want to protect their assets from the beginning, you have that opportunity as a prenuptial. Good classic prenuptial. Number 8, creditor protection. All right, here we go. This is probably one of the most valuable points. Why? Because everyone says, oh, I'm going to go get the LLC. A lot of people talk about the LLC because it's a limited liability corporation. Well, if you're the sole owner of the limited liability corporation, you're still in liability. It's only limited. So then we go over to the corporation. And guess what? If you own that too, or the majority shares too, you can be seized for that. So when we talk about creditor protection, if you own something, there's a thing called a creditor's lien. And a creditor's lien is where a creditor can say, well, they haven't been paid and they want to put a lien on property so they can be first in line for a debt. So there's a thing called a creditor's lien. And they can put that on other assets. They can put that on your quote unquote name. That's why your name is not to own anything, it's just to control things as a trustee. Number 10, preventing bad decisions by surviving spouses. Here we go. Governance. The contract makes the law. And I thought about this point in so many wild ways. A lot of people have wild examples of how when they pass, they have a partner that may do things that they might not like and with the estate or not manage the estate properly. And this is where the contract makes the law. So if that person's not even buying by the contract, you say, well, how will it be governed if she or he is the one that is their surviving spouse? Well, sometimes, in trustee training and just in general in trustee training, you learn about having other positions to govern someone if they need help. And these are the things you think about in trustee training, very much so long-term thinking. This is why you see a lot of people that are in trust are in long-term thinking. So these are the 10 reasons why you need a trust. Tax cuts are temporary. The state matters, where the state is going to be taxing it at, avoiding probate, planning for incapacity with a successor trustee, limiting children's access to their inheritance. That's a very important role. I actually hear quite a few parents that are not happy with giving their children the entire estate or access to all of the wealth, whether it's immediately when they pass or when they feel like it. Very, very important. That's why you need a trust, because a trust can help control that limiting access for the children, not to squander all the wealth away in one particular generation. Making lifetime gifts to children. As you can see, the private family foundation is in a trust. That's what a trust is. It's private because it's in a trust, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, there's less than 85,000 of them in the states. That's less than 1% of the population. I can keep going on and on about stats about this, but this is what you get in trustee training. You get the knowledge base of true asset protection through asset separation. You get the true learning of what makes an elite an elite. What makes a person private, I should say. It's own not to control everything. Uh, Protect beneficiaries from themselves. Divorce happens, so best prenuptial. Creditor protection. Everyone thinks I'm gonna go get an LLC and just go ahead and bite the bullet for the little temporary time period. Well, guess what? Now you have an asset that's generating 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, $20,000 a month, and guess what? It's still gonna be in your liability if somebody wanted to see you out, because they could come after you and really ask you, do you own that asset? And you will say yes. And owning that asset is complete liability. So creditors don't have to put liens on the business so it can take funds away from the business, because guess what? Some lawyers are that good. They can actually probably come after your businesses, and they can, especially if you call them your businesses. Your businesses are something that can be, you can be sued out of that wealth. Don't think that you can. Of course, there are some corporate protections. That's why they say they're limited liability protections, and then they got the corporate side and things of that nature. But ladies and gentlemen, just think about that. That's another reason why you need to trust. And then another one is preventing bad decisions from the surviving spouse. And that's just critical because, a lot of times a lot of people say the same thing for the children is, oh, I don't want this person to run out of money and things of that nature. And you just hear, well, what are you going to do? And so, very excited about the vault and trustee training and what we provide. Christian at trustchristian.com is the email. So just very excited. I know there might be a little breakup there on the stream earlier on in the episode, but I just hope that there's something that people can pull out in value here with the reasons why you need to trust. I do my best to give like news in the beginning because I think that it's very important to be abreast of the news and then go into a serious subject matter. And this is a very serious subject matter. You get a lot of inquiries at the vault. They know that it's a private environment. It's focused on privacy, helping you maintain your privacy and things of that nature. And that's the focus. And so the vault is it's private. It's behind the wall. And so, it does hold some good wealth in there. And I think that that's very important. And so, when it comes to you all going into the episode, I just want to thank you all for tuning in live. I know I didn't look down too early, but I know that there are quite a few people that said hello on the stream, and I just want to appreciate you all, let you all know I appreciate you all live, and Don, Cassandra, Gustavo, Stacy, Toshe, Touche, and Lavelle. I appreciate you all and everyone else that's tuned in live or in the replay. If you have any questions about this one, feel free. I think I'll go ahead and crank it up for at least 2 to 3 more minutes. If you all have any questions, but for the most part, I really wanted to make sure that there was a good understanding of what we were talking about. And a lot of people ask this question, why do I need to trust? So, 10 reasons why you need to trust is a great episode to really know what's important. What are the questions that you can ask yourself, and now what if it's something that I can do about some of these things that I'm thinking about because ladies and gentlemen, we hear the demographic conversation of millennials don't care about estate planning. They don't really have great relationships with financial advisors and things of that nature. And it's just very interesting to see that, ladies and gentlemen, where there's a generation possibly that may not care about wealth preservation. And when you think about the elderly generation, I mean, they're holding the stock market together, which is basically hundreds of billions to $1 trillion. So there's $1 trillion transfer that's get ready to happen from the older people that it's either going to go into government through taxes or it's going to go through private business enterprise taking money from consumers. And so it's interesting to see that they're trying to say that, or when I say they, I mean like public media perception is that possibly that millennials don't care about their wealth, and I think that that's very inaccurate. I think that there's a great concern about the wealth of the country, and I think they're very active in thinking about that. But I think it calls for more than just action. It calls for, I mean, excuse me, more for just thinking and actually more for action. And that action is individuals and individuals literally thinking about family, and that's how wealth is passed on, ladies and gentlemen. It's passed on through families. Even talking to senior mentors and talking about how they sat around guys that their name has their last name, like they can track back everybody for 900 years. That's pretty incredible. And of course, that's quite a bit of time, but that's just incredible. And I just think that, when you start thinking about things in maybe those type of terms, then you can see how trust don't die. Like me and you, they don't die, and that's very important. That's how wealth is lived on. That's how a name is lived on. That's how a legacy is lived on. That's how an energy is lived on. And so I just encourage you all to think about that. Christian at trustchristian.com is the email if you want a consultation to move forward with trustee training and move forward in with the 10 reasons why you need to trust. Christian at trustchristian.com. Other than that, really do appreciate you all for tuning in live or listening to replay. I don't really see any questions here live in the chat, so I thank you all. And definitely look forward to talking to you all next week, which is going to be another episode. But at the same time, I just thank you all for tuning in live or listening to replay. Peace and blessings upon you and your